The Dallas Cowboys have made a significant move by signing Carlos Watkins off the Washington Commanders practice squad. If you're a longtime fan, you'll remember Watkins. He was a key part of our defensive line for 2 seasons, playing in 27 games from 2021 to 2022, and making some crucial plays for the team. Watkins is a name many Cowboys fans will recognize because of his breakout year in 2021. That year, he posted 32 tackles, a career high, including 17 solo tackles. And who could forget his pick six against the New Orleans Saints? One of the highlights of that season. But injuries have followed him in recent years. Watkins left the Cowboys in 2023 for a stint with the Arizona Cardinals, but a biceps injury sidelined him for the majority of the season, limiting him to just 2 games. He then joined the Commanders, but now, with the Cowboys dealing with some major depth concerns, Watkins is back in Big D. His return brings a much-needed veteran presence to a defensive line that has been hit hard by injuries. Watkins already knows Dan Quinn's defensive system well, and that familiarity could be crucial as the team tries to stabilize the interior of the defense. Cowboys Nation, what do you think of the signing? Do you believe Watkins will be able to step in and make an immediate impact? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to vote in our community poll on whether Watkins should start in Week 3 against the Baltimore Ravens. We want to hear what you think. Now, let's talk about Jordan Phillips. The Cowboys placed Phillips on injured reserve earlier this week due to a wrist injury. This is a tough blow for our defensive line, especially considering Phillips was expected to be a solid rotational piece after being acquired via trade during training camp. Phillips' injury will sideline him for at least 4 weeks, and while he could be eligible to return by October 27th when the Cowboys face the San Francisco 49ers, it's unclear how serious this injury is. Losing Phillips is unfortunate timing, especially after the Cowboys' defensive struggles against the New Orleans Saints last week. Alvin Kamara ran wild on us, and Phillips' absence is going to leave a hole in our run defense. The Saints averaged 4.9 yards per carry in that game, with Kamara racking up 115 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's the kind of performance we can't afford to see repeated as we prepare to face the Ravens, a team that ranks in the top 10 in rushing yards this season, despite their 0-2 start. Cowboys Nation, how concerned are you about our run defense with Phillips sidelined? Do you think Carlos Watkins will be able to fill that gap, or should the Cowboys be looking for additional help on the defensive line? Drop your thoughts in the comments. But the bad news doesn't stop there. Just when it seemed like the Cowboys had enough to worry about, Mazi Smith, our former first-round pick, left practice with the athletic trainer. While we don't have the full details yet, Smith was seen walking off the field with Dr. Jim Maurer, the Cowboys' head athletic trainer. With the Cowboys already reeling from Phillips' injury, losing Smith, even temporarily, would be a huge setback. Smith is entering a critical season for his development. He didn't have the rookie season many had hoped for, and so far in 2024, he's played just 56 snaps in 2 games, recording no official stats. But Mike Zimmer, the Cowboys' defensive coordinator, has been working with Smith to refine his technique and play style, hoping to unlock his full potential. Smith slimmed down in the offseason, focusing on becoming a more aggressive, attacking 3 technique defensive tackle. Zimmer has praised his progress, but this potential injury throws a wrench in those plans. As we await further details, the question now becomes, who steps up if Mazi Smith is sidelined? With both Phillips and Smith potentially out, the Cowboys could be forced to rely heavily on Carlos Watkins and other rotational players. The defensive line's ability to generate pressure and stop the run is going to be under a microscope this week. Cowboys Nation, what do you think? Should the Cowboys be exploring the free agent market or even potential trades to strengthen the defensive line? Or do you believe the current roster has the talent to get through this rough patch? Let us know your thoughts, and don't forget to participate in our poll. Now, as we continue discussing the state of the Dallas Cowboys defensive line, it's clear that this unit is going to be under immense pressure in the coming weeks. Losing both Jordan Phillips to injured reserve and potentially Mazi Smith to what could be a serious injury creates a huge void in the middle of our defense. But it's not all doom and gloom, Cowboys Nation. This could be an opportunity for some players to step up and make a name for themselves. The return of Carlos Watkins, a timely boost? The signing of Carlos Watkins is significant for a few reasons. First, his experience within Dan Quinn's defensive system means that Watkins won't need as much time to adjust as some other signings might. Having already played 27 games for the Cowboys, Watkins understands the team's schemes, the coaching staff's expectations, and how to complement the play of star players like DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. Watkins' best year in the NFL was here in Dallas in 2021. And fans will remember him as a versatile player who could contribute both in stopping the run and generating some pressure on the quarterback. But perhaps his most memorable moment came when he intercepted a pass and ran it back for a touchdown against the Saints, showcasing his ability to make game-changing plays. While the Carlos Watkins we're getting now might be different after dealing with a season-ending biceps injury in 2023, there's hope that he can regain some of that old form. The Cowboys clearly believe in his ability, and this signing feels like it's happening at just the right time. One thing to keep in mind is that while Watkins can step in and help stabilize things, he's coming off a relatively quiet stint in Washington where he was placed on the practice squad. The key question now is, how quickly can he ramp up to game speed and make a difference? Given the state of the Cowboys' defensive line, Watkins will likely be thrust into action immediately, and it will be fascinating to see how much playing time he gets in Week 3 against the Ravens. Cowboys Nation, what are your expectations for Watkins in his first game back? Do you think he can replicate his form from 2021, or do you have concerns about his ability to impact the game after recovering from injury? Let us know in the comments. What the Cowboys lose in Jordan Phillips. When we talk about Jordan Phillips, it's hard not to feel a bit of frustration. The Cowboys brought him in via trade during training camp, hoping he'd add some much-needed depth and experience to a young defensive line. Phillips has always been a player known for his ability to disrupt opposing offenses. At 6 feet 6 inches and over 330 pounds, he brings an imposing physical presence that can clog up running lanes and pressure quarterbacks from the interior. The Cowboys were counting on Phillips to be a key rotational player this season, someone who could spell starters like Osa Odigizua and provide solid snaps, especially on early downs. Losing Phillips to a wrist injury just 2 weeks into the season is a big blow, particularly when you look at the way the Cowboys struggled to contain the run against the Saints. Alvin Kamara ran for 115 yards, and the team as a whole averaged 4.9 yards per carry. That's just not good enough if the Cowboys are serious about making a deep playoff run. Phillips is now on injured reserve, which means he'll miss at least 4 games. However, wrist injuries can be tricky, especially for defensive linemen who use their hands on almost every play. The team hasn't provided a clear timetable for his return, and even when he's eligible to come back, there's no guarantee he'll be 100%. This could linger well beyond his initial return date, making it crucial for the Cowboys to have a backup plan in place. It's a tough situation, but the good news is that Phillips will be eligible to return for the Week 8 matchup against the San Francisco 49ers if he's medically cleared. However, with a tough schedule coming up, including games against the Baltimore Ravens and the Los Angeles Rams, the Cowboys can't afford to wait for Phillips to heal up and hope things get better. They need immediate solutions. Cowboys Nation, how do you feel about Phillips' absence? Do you think his absence was one of the key reasons the Cowboys struggled to stop the run against the Saints? Drop your thoughts below. We want to hear your take on this. Losing Mazi Smith in practice, potentially to injury, is another layer of concern for the Cowboys. Smith was the team's first-round pick in 2023, and expectations were sky-high for him to become a cornerstone of the defensive line. Yet, his rookie year left many fans and analysts wanting more. His development in year 2 was supposed to be a major storyline for the Cowboys, but now, there are questions about how this potential injury could affect his growth. Smith hasn't yet made a big statistical impact this season, having played just 56 snaps with no recorded tackles or sacks. but Mike Zimmer has been working closely with him, trying to mold Smith into a more aggressive player at the 3 technique position. The hope was that by refining his technique and getting him more comfortable in the system, Smith could unlock his full potential. He slimmed down during the offseason, a move designed to make him more explosive off the snap, and Zimmer had been optimistic about his progress. Unfortunately, it looks like Smith's progress may have hit a speed bump with this injury. We don't yet know the severity, but walking off the field with the head athletic trainer is never a good sign. With Jordan Phillips already out, the Cowboys can't afford to lose Smith for an extended period. If he's unable to go against the Ravens, the team will need to rely even more heavily on players like Carlos Watkins, Chauncey Golston, and possibly even call up some practice squad players to fill the gaps. This isn't just about the short term, though. Smith's development is crucial for the long-term success of this defense. If the Cowboys are going to remain contenders, they need their former first-round pick to live up to his potential and become the disruptive force they envisioned when they drafted him. Cowboys Nation, how worried are you about Mazi Smith's potential injury? Do you think he was starting to turn the corner, or are you still waiting to see more from him? Let's talk about it in the comments section. Looking ahead to Week 3, the Cowboys face a tough test against the Baltimore Ravens team that, despite their 0-2 record, still ranks in the top 10 in rushing yards. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are coming to town, and you better believe they're going to test this Cowboys defense, especially with our injuries piling up in the trenches. Jackson is one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the NFL, and his ability to extend plays with his legs makes him a nightmare to defend. Combine that with Derrick Henry, who has been one of the league's most dominant running backs for years, and the Cowboys have their work cut out for them. The key for the Cowboys will be stopping the run, something they struggled with against the Saints. Without Jordan Phillips and potentially Mazi Smith, the Cowboys will need DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, and Carlos Watkins to step up and control the line of scrimmage. If they allow the Ravens to establish the run early, it's going to open up everything for Lamar Jackson and his receivers. The Cowboys' defense, which was once considered a strength, is now at a crossroads. How they respond in this game could set the tone for the rest of the season.